I just recently replaced the high pressure power steering line on my truck. And why did I replace it? Well, it was leaking. And so it started a while ago, longer than I care to admit. I should have gotten on this sooner. I did not. I heard the power steering pump start to whine one day, kind of grind. And I was like, oh, well, that's not good. So as soon as I was able to, I checked it. The power steering was low. I put some in there, but then I thought I need to check on this because why was it so low? Like that it was making noise. So I filled it up and I started checking it, and I realized it was getting lower. And I realized that hey, around the power steering lines, it's very wet and greasy. I've got a leak. Is it the power steering pump? Probably not. Probably a line. And I went for a while just filling it up. Should have just replaced. I don't know why I didn't. You know, you just get lazy, you get complacent. So finally decided I'm tired of having to top off the power steering fluid. Like, this is stupid. Why have I not just fixed this? Couldn't tell you. So I had somebody else get in the vehicle, had them just turn the steering wheel just so I could make sure that what I thought I needed to replace, the power steering line, was what I needed to replace. I don't want to just replace parts indiscriminately. And when they turn the wheel just a little bit, like power steering fluid's going all over the place. My truck has a lot of miles on it, so it's kind of greasy and wet and dirty in the hood. Like, you know, so it's not like I can say, oh yeah, like it's easy to see. Like there's a lot going on in there. I did, after a result of this, I did clean up the engine bay a little bit just so that if I see a leak pop up, I'll be able to notice it a little quicker, so I won't be like, oh, which leak was this? Well, this now I'll know all leaks. I identify them. So I replaced the high pressure hose, and you know, I read online, the manufacturer's website as I was buying those, oh, you should replace the low pressure hose as well. And I thought, why, man? It's just you trying to squeeze some more dollars out of me? I just ordered the high pressure line. And as it was in delivery, I thought, you know, the hose is rubber. Rubber over time, it gets dry, it starts to crack, creates issues. That's probably why they said replace both. But the high pressure line is under a lot more force, a lot more pressure to where it is going to capitalize on those cracks more. So maybe I should replace both. But you know what? I think I'm okay. I'll replace that other one when that starts leaking. So I replaced it. Now to get out the one that's in there, you need an 18mm wrench for the line that goes into the power steering unit. You need a 9/16" wrench for the line that goes into the pump. Now for the one that goes into the actually power steering unit, I loosened that. Actually, the day before I sprayed them with PB Blaster just to make sure they would be free and I wouldn't have an issue. Sprayed them the day before. I would recommend doing that. Loosened the one from the top. I loosened the one into the steering unit from the top, but I found it a little easier to complete loosen it from underneath. Just it's a tight fit, and I found it underneath was easiest to get the one that goes into the steering unit. From the pump, you have to do that underneath because the way the line snakes underneath and behind the pump, like you just can't see it from the top. So I was underneath. Since I'm leaking power steering fluid, it's a little messy under there. Be prepared for that. To get them back in, oh man. At first I thought something was wrong with my hose because, you know, the hose has a very distinct curve in it, and the one I got had a very distinct curve, but it seemed like the lines were like backwards or mirrored. And I realized that despite this hose having a very distinct curve, I just needed to fold it the other way. I guess however they packaged it or how it had been sitting, but it threw me for a minute. It's like, is this, like, it can't be wrong. This has to be the right hose. Like all the individual ends look the same. It's just they point the different way. Just had to fold the hose. Now getting these threaded, before you embark on putting the high pressure line back in, you should have 2 O-rings that came with the hose. They go over the ends, each end. You need those O-rings in there because that's what, you know, stops this whole mess from leaking. Make sure you put those on. Protect them with your life. You want them to be secure. So I decided to put the line that goes into the pump first. Just, it seemed a little fiddly. The whole thing seems fiddly. So it took me quite a while to get that in there right. Like, it kept wanting to cross thread. You don't want to cross thread it because we're trying to stop leaks here, not create more leaks. I finally got it. It was a process, and it is a process that I actually had somebody else help me from the top, like angling and trying to get the angle just right to get it in there. Once I got started, man, I went to town because it was in there. I didn't want to wait anymore. Getting the one on top, that again is a little tricky. These lines, like, I don't know if the bends aren't quite factory. I assume they are not. After I got them both started, like moderately tight, I kind of was playing with the hose to get it where it needed to be. Because the stock one hits in a couple certain spots, and like this one was, you know, touching the frame very snugly, which I don't want on the frame. That rubbing against the frame, I don't want to rub a hole in this power steering line. Again, trying to prevent leaks, not cause them. And then also the high pressure line is right next to the low pressure line, so they orient in a certain way. So I was trying to bend, because I'm trying to bend this thing to get it in the right spot, but I don't want to bend it and break a line. I mean, I just replaced it. Well, I don't want to break it. I don't. But there's just things to keep in mind of, because this is I think it's a Gates brand hose. You know, that seemed like a good brand. I've used Gates in the past. They seem decent. I hope they are. But I just want to get this thing right. Then I got it in, tightened it, cleaned around both ends, and then had somebody jump in the truck. And what you want to do, I mean, you're going to lose a little bit of fluid. Actually, to back up, I used a siphon to get some of the fluid out of the reservoir just so it wouldn't all leak out. You're going to have some leak out, so you know, have a bucket, have something there to catch that when that does happen. And then pour some new in. And so I did. Once I poured some new in, I did have somebody turn the wheel back and forth a little bit to get some air bubbles, get whatever out, get everything working. It seemed to work fine. I did not see any leaks anywhere. I mean, before, with the old line, I mean, it was power steering fluid all over the place. Like, you're going to see it. This, I didn't see anything. I've checked it the next couple of days after driving. I still don't see any leaks, which is great. I mean, if I can't see them, we're definitely better than what I was before, because before, you couldn't miss them. The power steering fluid level has been good. So if I have a leak, I'm always concerned about a leak. If I do have a leak, it's very minimal. And what I did as a result of all this, because my engine bay is messy because there's power steering fluid all over the driver's side, I went to kind of clean up the engine bay a little bit. It's been a while. I mean, I'll clean it every now and then, not in detail. I mean, like the inside I want clean. I sit in there, I see it. I don't sit in the engine bay. I don't often look at the engine bay, so I don't always worry about it. But I did try to clean up the engine bay just so if I have any more leaks, they'll be a little more readily apparent than like, oh, what's this greasy spot? Like, is this just in addition to the other greasy spots? No, because I want to keep this truck. I plan to keep it forever. You know, best laid plans and all, but I do plan to keep it for a while. So I want to know what's going on. I want to know if I see a leak, if there's a leak. I want to know about it early. So that is my adventure in replacing the power steering line. And I just wanted to make a note of that because one day I'm going to be replacing this power steering line again. And I'm going to go back to this video to, you know, make things a little easier because I've learned lessons. Now I'm imparting those lessons to my future self. My future self will be much appreciative